Evan Ducas. I hope I'm emphasizing the right syllable for your sake. Locked in developer and creator. Okay, first of all, I would not say locked in just because you can't be sure that your hiring manager is Gen Z, and also locked in as a term of like slang for being super focused on something. Most people know now, especially in the programming world, but you can't guarantee it. That slang might be on the way out. There's always new slang coming in. The cool kids will switch to something else when locked in becomes too mainstream. I know that because I'm a member of the Council of Cool Kids, and we're currently the current contender for the next term for being really focused is running hot, but I'll let you know what we eventually choose. But yeah, just don't use like slang that could potentially be misunderstood or changed in the future. I'm a passionate 14-year-old programmer. Wow, 14 years old and you're looking for career review. I think based on this, you're going to be fine in life because I have classmates that are 20s that do not know what React is. So you're going to have no problem getting a job, man. And he uses Arch and Windows. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily flex your OS on here, but yes, it's possible. Currently building cool stuff and preparing for high school. So you're in middle school, wow. Um, this building cool stuff is very kind of basic these days, and saying building cool stuff, it doesn't say much. You know, what is stuff? I would use some specifics here. And other than that, though, looking at the website, it's good, it's clean, it looks nice, right? But it's not hugely standing out because it looks kind of like you could make it on Squarespace or something. I kind of believe if you're going to make a developer portfolio, you might as well show off with a little bit of CSS or a little bit of weird design or something that doesn't look super cookie cutter. You know, you've picked good colors and this is like a good clean thing, but it doesn't stand out, especially because a lot of developers will have kind of like a nice looking templated thing. So I would go for some crazier CSS, like a weird old. I like the aesthetic of older websites. Back when, I mean, I wasn't really on the internet back then, but as I understand it, like everyone had their own kind of wacky personal site, and everything now kind of looks too much like a clone of each other. So that's how it stand out. Let's see, and then you've got this little. That's somewhat of a cool widget. It stands out a little bit, but it's not crazy because people have done that before. So let's check out your code. Okay, that's just your GitHub. That's nice. Let's see your skills. Okay, yeah, you're gonna have no problem getting hired at all, man. If you're 14 and you know this stuff, like there are people who don't. And then, yeah, that's all solid. The thing is, like, all this stuff again is like, well done, but so many other developers have websites that look pretty much exactly the same as this. So you're not standing out incredibly. You'll definitely be able to get a job, but see, and you have all these different projects on the front page. You could have said, I'm currently working on blank project. I'm currently working on this, and sell it a little bit more than just I do cool stuff. Cool is subjective, stuff is also kind of doesn't say much. And let's see, these look pretty cool. So you've got authentication, quiz creation, real-time scoring. Okay. Putting your personal site on your site, I don't like. I've seen several people do that before. I think that's kind of like, yeah, I don't have many projects and I'm trying to fill out cards. That's what it reads to me. And man, I mean, you especially, you have time. You're 14. Like, a company will not hire you realistically until you're 18, unless you get really cracked and you're 16 or something. But yeah, you're not, you shouldn't be rushing to get hired because you've got many years to build projects. So don't worry so much about the optics right now. Just worry about building things. Let's see. And then other stuff, like all of this stuff is pretty impressive. It looks like kind of full stack applications for like, yeah, you're going to be a great industry programmer, but you could go even farther if you spend a lot of time not just learning what employers will like, but building really interesting things outside of that. You could be, if you've got a very early start, it looks very promising. Um, oh, this is 04, so it looks like I've missed some stuff. Oh, okay, you scroll down, you've got kind of a scrolling thing. I guess I should have seen the scroll bar. Another thing for me, it's just like I don't like the term pet peeve, but something I find kind of annoying in design is these scroll bars because they don't really match with the theme of the rest of the site. Especially, you don't know, like, this is, I'm using the Zen browser, which I think is based on Firefox. These look okay, but certain browsers have really ugly scroll bars. So there's CSS you can do to conceal the scroll bar, but still allow scrolling. Because basically no one anymore, unless you're like a grandmother, goes over here and grabs that scroll thing. So you can look up how to do that. I think there's a Stack Overflow post, but all right. Wow, you've been coding for 6+ years. Passionate programmer genuinely loves what I do. All right, I mean, that's kind of generic and not that interesting, but I run both Arch Linux on my ThinkPad and Windows on my desktop. I love programming, and I'm always looking for new challenges to tackle. This is kind of bland and redundant. It doesn't say a whole lot interesting about you. I don't know. I like new challenges, and I genuinely love what I do. I think you should have more specifics. I know people don't like when I critique writing as much as like the website design, but if no one is going to do that, like the world is going to devolve into slop, you know. I think it's important too. Currently working on some exciting projects while preparing for high school. When I'm not coding, you find me gaming on Hypixel or CS2. But let's be real, I'm usually coding. Okay, that's a little funny. And you're 14, so I'll cut you some slack. And yeah, I guess exciting projects is usually for stuff like this, you should show, not tell. You should, saying exciting doesn't really add much. You should just show your projects, which I guess you are. This locked in level infinity is funny if you're Gen Z, but again, like someone, hiring manager, especially at an older company, might have no idea what you're talking about. Coding since age 8, so yeah, that's why you're cracked. Those are your skills. And then, okay, so you're working on your current project, and you also do robotics. Do you have, so I guess this is everything, and then contact at the bottom. All right, cool. Not terrible, also pretty generic and pretty forgettable, to be honest, just because this looks minimal, templated. It looks, I don't know. It's memorable because you're 14, but other than that, it's not all that memorable. All right, next up, we've got Nathaniel Davis. So again, right off the bat, right? Not super interesting. I mean, this looks pretty much like you could put it together with Squarespace or another one of those site generators. Like, I'm not crazy impressed by your CSS, and maybe you're beginning, but I think it's worth some time to invest in. You don't have to go crazy. You don't need 3D animations or anything like that, but just like some slightly weirder stuff going on, you know, that doesn't look templated. Like my website, I want to redo it soon-ish. It doesn't have like crazy animations. I think I have a repeating, let's see, sylvanfranklin.com. So I have this repeating hexagon animation in the background, which is just a couple lines of CSS. And then I have this, which I drew a long time ago and I don't love anymore. But it's still like, it's just a little different, you know? I didn't spend a lot of time on this, but it's like, that's kind of a strange website, you know? And then the pyramid schemes. So I think just like helps it stand out a little bit when it doesn't look like a rounded corners, React and Storybook and Tailwind, like Shad CN templated. Everything is so clean, basic, and the same. It's like, I don't know. It's a little, when everyone else does that too, it's not going to stand out very well. And then let's see, you've got Orderum. So you've got you're basically saying, I can talk the talk, walk the walk. I can build your standard CRUD Postgres app. I can make your company money. So that's a solid project. It looks like it's a fragrance website, and AI with new fragrances, probably an AI slop kind of product, to be honest. I'm not huge on AI, but yeah, it's a very good project for corporate software engineering. You'll be fine with that. And then also you've got another kind of thing with that. Okay. Ooh, this is very cool. The U.S. Embassy in, sorry, it's really sunny. I can't really see anything here. Addis Ababa leverages QR codes to streamline admission. Okay, this is great. So this is like a practical thing, and it's gained over 20,000 members. That's very impressive. So good on that. And then you have your experience here. All right, yeah, that looks pretty solid. Education, details coming soon, and skills. All right, so this is almost just like a resume that's interactive at this point, you know. This could just be a resume, so it's not even, yeah. I'm just gonna say like very, very basic, not all that eye-catching. This is kind of eye-catching as a resume item, you know, because you've worked with this U.S. Embassy. So you're like an interesting person, but yeah, your website is pretty bland. All right, Monster Dev. Hi, I'm TJ, computer science student at Kent State University. Is Kent State in England, or is there a Kent in America as well? I like building things. Okay, I think that's a sin in writing. It's like, what things? That's very generic. How about you list like, I don't know, you could say something else that's just more specific. I like building, even if it's like still generic, like web apps, you know, like at least you know a little bit, okay, this guy likes this kind of thing. Or you could list multiple areas of development, or just say, I'm enjoying building, and then drop like the project details. Because I like building things. It's just kind of, I think it's overplayed. Everyone says it, but interesting CSS at least. This stands out a little bit. There's a JavaScript library that does this. I forget what it's called. This like kind of wavy stuff. But again, you look very, so you've got this bar, gradient text. This is a classic like Tailwind one-liner. Same thing going here. Like it's not crazy. It's nothing. It's immensely standing out. This carousel is cool though. I do like that. To see a project with that technology. That's a very good idea. So that will take me to, okay. So these are just like links, and looks like you've written a programming language pretty recently. So that's very cool. That's a good project. I'm a computer science student who enjoys building systems from the ground up. Okay, there you go. That's more specific, but I would just cut that first kind of thing. Understanding how things work beneath the surface and using code to solve meaningful real-world problems. Okay, the word meaningful is like, it's like utilize. It's like corporate nothingness, you know? Saying something is meaningful does not make it meaningful. I enjoy meaningful things. What does that mean? It's like, it's meaningless. It's kind of a very ironic. And real world and problems are also just, that's so generic and buzzwordy. That bothers me heavily. And this is interesting. You've got this underline and about me that's kind of stopping midway through the O. Not really sure how that CSS is working. It's a scroll indicator or something, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you're going for there. And also this little weird indentation in the text. I guess you're center justifying it. I think that's a little bit strange. I guess you're center justifying this stuff, but I would expect kind of a paragraph to be left aligned, I guess. And then you've got these things down here. Okay. Languages, tools. All right. I mean, honestly, I think it's also kind of overplayed to do all this. Here's like a list of a bank of languages and tools I know. I prefer to just have the projects and they kind of speak for themselves, because if someone is looking deeply enough at your projects that they're caring about what skills you have, you know, they're gonna kind of pull that out themselves. At least if it's a developer reviewing your stuff. I don't really know how hiring works, but I'd assume they've got like most of the time someone technical, and they're gonna look at your project and say, okay, full stack app. And maybe they go to the GitHub, maybe they don't, but that implies you know all this stuff. I used to put like Git and stuff and even Vim on my resume, but no one cares about that especially. And Git is just like, if you're building anything and you're using GitHub, if you have GitHub links, it's heavily implied you know how to use Git. And same thing with other languages. I don't think it's the best to put like all these tags. Maybe that was a good strategy a long time ago, but just every single person does that just all the time. And at least you have some like nuance here, but to be honest, I've seen a lot of things like this with icon banks and links and stuff too. At least you've got this carousel animation, but it's not very unique. So many other people have done it. I think you're kind of fighting for attention with a lot of other people. Writing your own programming language is pretty cool. Built in Python is interesting. I bet that's a blazingly fast language. Synapse, intelligent learning platform that combines AI technology with proven learning methodologies to create a personalized and effective educational experience. All right, you're gonna fit right into the corporate buzzword hell once you get hired. That's, I mean, I think that's fine because if you want to get hired, yeah, that's gonna work all right. It's just like from a grander life perspective, that kind of corporate nothingness is so grim. It makes me sick, but you're just trying to put food on the table. I get it, man. AI art, immediately, that is, I hate AI art. I would just, it just looks to me very trashy, but I know a lot of corporate people are doing it. And then let's work together. Okay, contact page, and you've got this whole bottom. I think this is a little redundant because you've kind of got this bar up here, which is half of this, and then your links are all over the place. I think by the time someone's at the bottom, they'll have access. This is like, what is this, like Facebook or something? It's basically a static site. You don't need kind of two headers, but I guess, so you have blog posts as well. Java's bad. All right, and then you've got, all right, nothing that wrong with that, I guess. Oh, I did not mean to click on your Facebook. My bad. Okay. Yeah. Overall, as I read this, it got worse just because it's so generic, and to do something a little more unique. You definitely have the skills to do it, and you're taking the initiative at least to submit your portfolio. So I think you'll be fine. You'll do well in life, but I would change this up a little bit. All right, next up, viewer computer. All right, you've got a very minimal website. It's a little bit like mine. That stands out a little bit, but first thing I'm noticing, capitalization of these headings. This has got to be a conscious choice, but it just looks kind of goofy that you're not capitalizing anything here. But let's see what you've got. I'm a recent graduate in computer science. I'm interested in security, systems programming, and developing a curriculum that makes them accessible. All right, that's solid because it's specific. You're not saying I enjoy building things. I like stuff. You're saying actual stuff. And swing dancing and good books. Good books is kind of funny. Like, I'm a person who enjoys bad books. I'm saying good in front of, that's just a writing criticism though. And swing dancing is good and specific and unusual. That'll help you be remembered. I like computers, but I sacrifice some of their convenience to ensure they respect my attention. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. I'd recommend others do the same and would like to make it easier to stop carrying around a slot machine in your pocket. All right, so this, writing-wise, right, is very weird because you say I, which is first person, and would like it make it to, I would like to make it easier to stop carrying around a slot machine in your, so you're switching to second person right there, and then you also say recommend others. You've got third person. Not sure if that's conscious, doesn't seem like it, but your grammar there is just very, if it's not wrong, it's just very weird and choppy. And the slot machine, I'm assuming you're talking about phones, but it's like, why are you using like a weird metaphor, and preaching about the addictiveness of phones? I guess maybe that's your thing. Okay, yeah, flip phone. If you'd like to try a flip phone, my navigation app will help you get around. All right, so that's an interesting way to plug a project. And then you've got, my house is a house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. That's from I don't remember the specific book, but that part of the Bible that's like the canon story, the main one. Someone with Bible knowledge could correct me. Okay, so you've got a blog here with 3 posts. All right, recommendations. I consume, okay, you're a Luke Smith watcher, probably, these things, and so should you. So, my problem, right, is if you're gonna not capitalize your headings, why, I guess I is supposed to be capitalized, but it's just like weird. You're starting all these with capitalization and then not that. I don't know. I don't know what you're going for with ignoring grammar. All right, the origin of consciousness is the breakdown of the bicameral mind. Right, is that a book recommendation or are you just being pretentious for the sake of it? Okay, it is a book recommendation. I didn't see any capitalization in there, so I wasn't sure. This book sparked my brief adventure into tulpomancy. All right, so you're a certified weirdo. Screw tape letters. That's a sentence fragment. Recommended because C.S. Lewis's explanation of the banality and effortlessness of sin is incredible and applies to every creed. All right, you're just like, I'm not sure what you're going for here other than vocab flexing. Like that sentence is so archaic and I have no idea what you're even trying to say. I don't know if this is even a developer portfolio website at this point. This is just like your personal website, I guess, because there's nothing really about developer skills or anything. And I guess that's fine if you're going for like being hired based on your resume and you just want to put whatever you want. But yeah, this whole paragraph and this writing is like, I have no idea what's really going on. The banality and effortlessness of sin is incredible and applies to every creed. So that's basically saying like it's easy to be bad and every culture has people that sin, but like why are you telling me this on I don't know. And if someone didn't have the vocabulary to know banality, which I guess isn't crazy, but I don't know. I'm just confused by what you're going for here. And every other book I read is a tie for third. Okay, that's kind of funny. All right, based on cooking, you are Luke Smith, and veganism, of course, gotta mention veganism. And then mogs all these. Putting mogs and words like banality and Bible verses inside a website is insane. That's it's just and bicameral too, like yep. I should probably compile my favorite recipes somewhere in the meantime, colon, and then okay. Then you've got some recipes. All right. Every bread recipe freaks out about weighing to the gram and kneading to the right timing, but none of that matters. Yeast can't be reasoned with. You gotta just get in tune with it. I worked as a baker for a long time, and I'll tell you, at least for us, like, if I were to just go like, yeah, I feel like that much yeast, probably get fired. But if it's your own little thing messing around, that's fine. And then software I actually like. I want to kind of skim through this to get to the next one in time. You don't want to get too much ad revenue. Let's see. This has got to be referenced to some kind of software. I'm maybe a noob, but the enter backslash and the half function keys broke freshman year. All right, so this is kind of artistic. All my stuff is trash core, but that's cool. I like that too. I'm not going to be a snobby Apple user. My phone is completely falling apart, and I'll get to ThinkPad eventually. All right, I hate plugin churn and got rid of everything. I'm currently zenning with nothing but the built-in LSP. I program offline these days. That's cool. Download tools with a build tool. Cargo Dock is great. Or Curl Mirror. All right. So you are assuming people have some software knowledge. I stopped using ad blockers a while ago. I think it's good to be clear-eyed about the ads for which my attention is being eaten. That's a very interesting choice, and maybe you kind of want to keep tabs on how well you're being tracked by everyone, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I just think, especially if you're a heavy YouTube consumer, like most of us are, to be honest, or just anything, like the amount of bandwidth and time and stuff you save from getting rid of ads. But still, that's an interesting thing to say, and then you've got the same Bible thing everywhere. Recommendations backlog. Okay, I think I visited everything here. And then blog. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely interesting. It's definitely like not a templated kind of, I don't know, soy dev soy dev is a loaded term, but whatever. Not a basic everyone has this same React template kind of website. It's at least pretty unique, but some of the stuff you're saying there and what looks like in here especially, this looks like a bunch of Latin. I read it several times over and get someone else to read it over other than just me, because some of it's pretty pretentious, to be honest. That's how I'm reading into it a little bit, at least anyway. All right, and then here we go. Here's the last one. All right, this is clearly not made with a template because there's some CSS issues going on. Hi, I'm Ali. I'm a developer from, is that Toronto? You've got a cool text rewrite algorithm. I'm assuming you did yourself. You've got a cool little blob. The aesthetic isn't insanely unique. It's a little bit tailwind looking. You've got a cool underline animation, but that CSS I was talking about earlier, you see how this resume is not lined up exactly, like the text isn't on the same horizontal plane. So that's kind of a giveaway that this isn't some kind of template. You're doing this yourself, but that's all right. I think a lot of people would overlook that. And then, yeah, this arrow also looks like it's its own element maybe, or maybe that's just how the character renders. But I guess let's see what you've made. All right. Client personal site. Are these supposed to have images? I don't know if it's because my network is bad, but they are not loading at all. You've got a weird visual artifact going on, at least with the Firefox rendering engine. And client personal site. Built for a client to showcase their professional profile. Okay, again, I'm pretty sure this is your own thing. I would not necessarily put my personal site as a project on my personal site. That's like, well, I barely have any projects, so I'll do everything I can. Let's see, view website. Maybe this is something else. Okay, it is something else. Never mind. I stand corrected. And this looks pretty cool. University of Waterloo. I don't know if I should fully look at that, but I'll keep going through this. All right, Pwn panel. CTF management tool that lets you create machines that run command snippets like nmap and dirb, analyze and clean command outputs, manage notes. Okay. Here's a CSS rookie mistake as well. Look at all this space you have to the side of this view project button. You could put the GitHub thing right there, and then these cards wouldn't be dramatically different sizes. I don't know if these are image fallback problems, the sign graph and restaurant viewer, but there's no padding. I would center this right there. Same thing here again. I don't know why these are on different things. And also these cards should probably be coded to be the same size on all of them. They're expanding based on the text, model viz and restaurant viewer. Okay, that's all fine. Bugzilla badge and personal website. Okay, so you have your personal website in addition to this other client personal site, but I would not put personal website on your personal website. Let's see what you know. Okay, see what I was talking about earlier with all the icons and stuff? Pretty common theme for people to do, and that just means you're not going to stand out very well anymore. So we've got all the standard stuff. This is some noob-ass CSS too, because it's really weird that like there's different amounts of gap, you know, it looks like you've got kind of a flex spread going on. I would make these all justified to the top and just have like extra blank space on the bottom. That looks quite weird to me. And the icons are, I don't know about this. I'd suspect that for developers, this is redundant. Like they know what you're talking about. They see these icons and they immediately, they know. Like, especially imagine they're hiring for SvelteKit specifically, and they're looking at your thing. They know the SvelteKit logo, so it's like weird to put the text and the logo, and also just by showing the projects, like if they're specifically hiring for SvelteKit, they're gonna go, I think, to the extra trouble of looking into your projects and like looking at the language graph on GitHub. Okay, he knows Svelte. I really doubt that it's like some person from HR, no programming experience, with like a sheet that's like, okay, we're gonna check off that he knows all these things. You know, it's almost always someone technical, and this is gonna be very redundant for them. And then again, Git, don't put that on. I would not put that on your resume, just because if you use GitHub, it's just implied. Okay, so you've got kind of an interesting timeline, but it's like 1 inch long. So I would, if you're gonna go with the timeline thing, this is goofy to have 3 items on it. I would spread it out a lot more than that. And then my technology started at a young age. Since then, I've had a thirst for solving problems. I constantly challenge myself to do more. Okay, the timer there has got to be longer. Some of my hobbies are loading big ass images on a small network. All right, weird grid layout. And I mean, astrophotography is really cool, but I would say more about it rather than just attaching things that could be any random Google image, you know? I mean, it's awesome you took these yourself, presumably, but I'd like to know more about astrophotography and how you plan to, maybe you can integrate it with programming or something. Personal fitness, my fitness goals. So you have 2 fitness goals. Bench press of 135. This is a progress bar. You're not there. And a curl of 35 pounds. Okay, first of all, don't put your fitness goals like this on your developer portfolio website or any portfolio website. It's just like very, very weird. They're not hiring you to lift stuff up. And it feels kind of, it's like an ego thing to put your weights of how much you should lift on a website. And also, why are you putting your curl of all things? Like if you lift your bench press, your squat, and your deadlift are what you put. You never put your curl. Nobody cares about how much you curl. It's like putting your lateral raise or something. Like, I don't even know how much I curl, to be honest. I mean, like, yeah, that's, who knows how much they curl. It's so weird. And then you're also not even there. And then you've got your 1 rep maxes, which is redundant with bench press at 125. And also, not to like hate on you a lot, but these are not impressive stats at all. 135 bench is not very impressive thing to flex. And like, I would just prefer that you write about why you enjoy lifting and all that stuff. Putting this weird like stats sheet thing that's partially finished and with the strangest exercise, that's, I'll remember you, but like in a bad way, because you put your curl PR there. All right, and then you've got your resume there. And I won't look at that super closely because it's more about this, but the good thing that you've done here is it's all yourself, I can tell, because of the CSS and stuff. It looks unique, and you've got this cool glass aesthetic, but it's also, it's not incredibly interesting, to be honest. I've seen stuff like this before, tons of rounding, tons of tailwind looking stuff. Nothing crazy that's having you stand out. So this is your tutoring section. Yeah, education. Yeah, I don't know. I would forget about this immediately after I closed it if I was a hiring manager. And that's way too fast. And some of my hobbies are, I guess you've got astrophotography and then personal fitness. I guess those are your 2 hobbies, but this feels like a very half-baked website. Yeah, that's about it. A lot of that stuff was not memorable. I would say the most memorable was maybe fewer computer just because of how pretentious you were, but it's not the best way to get remembered, or Evan for being 14. But all of your websites were just, they look exactly like everyone else.